in this class, you have this research paper to write, and it can take three forms. All right. You get to pick which type of research paper to write. And I'll take each one of these three that I offer you as being of equal weight and equal value. So one is not going to earn you a higher grade than the other. But it really is about you trying to understand where you are as a writer and what do you feel is your next step in terms of how you can grow. So the first of the three types of research papers that I want you to think about, and then to pick one. The first one is just the straight up informational paper. All right. So this, the focus of this paper then would be to learn how to work with a narrow topic, but then really just to find the current information about it from the better sources that are out there, and then to bring the information into a piece that you write, an essay, in such a way that as you arrange it and as one reads through it, they get the basic picture in a very linear fashion, just step one, step two, step three, step four, step five, if you're talking about a process, or if you're talking about, an event or a person, it's very historical in the sense of, it is really about who, what, when, where, why, how, and there's a certain logical order that goes in. We're not going to necessarily be too, interested in the why until we first know the what, right? So, and we know how to do this. It's not something that we haven't done in some form or another, if not in school, just in everyday life. As you try to explain things to your friends, to your family, to yourself, to people around you in terms of what it is you're involved in, what you did, what you want to, we're involved in this sort of information gathering and giving out all the time. So there's not really a stress here on originality. The stress for you as a student writer would be, can I learn how to use my library? Can I bring those sources into the paper? Can I write about this in a way that the information doesn't overwhelm me? Can I learn how to put a little depth in it? So again, if you're going to write about music, so a lot of, music is obviously very important to us. But sometimes I'll run across a paper or a student that just wants to write about music in general and why it's important to us. So automatically you see that's way too big. That's huge. And what that is going to tempt the student to do, or allow the student to do, is to make these vague general statements that we all kind of know is true, but there's no way you're going to be able to develop any sort of logic or proof behind it. So if you tell me, hey, music affects us, I'm like, you don't need to write a paper about that. That's a given. That's a given. That's just something we believe in already. That's way too big. Well, then someone might want to narrow it down to say, a certain type of music is used to affect our feelings negatively. And I'll be like, again, I mean, we all know this just in the videos we watch, the movies. Watch a horror movie, we know that music can affect us in those dark ways. So what's the point? And now if you try to explain how it affects us, I'll be like, I'm not going to tell you this as a teacher to a student. You actually write that paper, I'll take it, I'll give you a decent grade for it. But professionally, I would be like, no way. There's no way you're going to be able to write on that, because you don't have, I don't know if anybody has the right empirical tools to really show this in a way that's going to be accepted by the modern scholarship, the modern scholar community, the modern scientific community, the modern psychological community. All right. So like you can show that it might affect rats a certain way, and I'm like, well, that's okay. That doesn't necessarily carry over to human. But if you're trying to explain how it works, that's to me that's a bridge too far. I don't think you're ever going to be able to do that right. So if you pick the informational way, it really is about finding the right thing to write about that you can manage, and a sort of, if it's too broad of a topic, learning how to narrow it down, and then learning to sense what can be known about it and what cannot be known about it. And then obviously delivering what can be known in a way that informs the reader, right? I mean, I suppose if you want to pretend that somebody doesn't know at all what Bitcoin mining is, okay? Well, I think that might be a really good topic for this. Okay, just to try to explain what a Bitcoin is. All right. So now notice I'm not writing about money. That's way too broad. Nor am I writing about cyber currency. That's still a little too broad. Maybe I'm just saying, I might mention cyber currency as a general concept in my informational paper, but I gotta focus on one of those things and say, now let's go to one of the original forms and let's really just understand how this works. And then you just, maybe your paper is just explaining that process. Okay. And if you do it right, if you use the right sources, you're going to receive a good grade for the research paper. But please understand that there's nothing original about this, because I can probably find 5 or 6 great YouTube videos on YouTube that will do just as good a job as your paper, if not better. I can go to Wikipedia and I might find a great, research paper if it were to be printed out, right, with all those sources. I have a lot of respect for Wikipedia. And it might do a much better job than your research paper. So it's not about bringing something new to your audience, this information paper for this class. It's just about you meeting the assignment at this point. And it ends up really being about you showing me you know how to use the library, you know how to use quotes in your paper, you know how to use works cited, or the bibliographic apparatus at the end. And then if putting it into the right format. So if you feel like that is really where you need to grow and you want to grow, then this is the paper you should try to do. Okay, and you can learn how to do titles. You can learn, paragraphing skills. There's a lot of decent stuff that can come from this, and you can also learn about Bitcoin. So you might really figure this thing out. I'm just using that as an example, but that's the information approach. Okay. And it's manageable, it's doable, and if you really are a little bit hesitant of your writing skills right now or where you are as a writer, maybe this is the approach for you. It's completely okay for you to take this approach. Again, you're not going to be learning how to create an original voice, but you will be learning how to handle information and how to be phrasing it in your own words and putting it in a paper. All right. So this is the information approach. One of 3. You can use it or not. And, the other 2 will also, obviously, they're going to be working with information as well. So, to write an information paper is one thing, but then to write the others, that does not mean that you're not going to be dealing with information. It's just you're doing other things with it than just delivering it, than just conveying information. You're using information for other things. That's the other 2 videos I'm going to talk about, the other 2 types of research papers that are available for you. So watch the other 2, then you have 3 options in front of you, and you can choose from them.